Hey guys, 6 Actual. Wanted to make a quick video this morning. I've been reading 1 Second After, and not all the way through the book, but it had me really wondering about prepping for others. And it's something that I've always done. And I'm wondering if anybody else out there, if you prep for others as well. Now, let me explain this a little bit more in detail. When I'm talking about prepping for others, I'm not talking about family, okay, or extended family, or best of friends. I'm talking about a perfect stranger, or maybe a neighbor, or somebody that's in a bad situation. In the event that, you know, an SHTF situation happens, flood, tornado, whatever, an economy collapses, whatever, and what if the essentials to life was running out? Would you, besides bartering, would you help someone who needed it? How about the senior citizen couple that lives across the street? You may not even know them. They may just wave to you when they see you, and that's it. They may not be in your peer group. Would you help them if they needed help? I've seen a ton of videos on YouTube and talked to people, and you know, one of the impressions that I've got is, you know, if they weren't prepared for it, screw them. Well, you know, it's kind of a harsh way to look at it, because as a former American soldier that served in the Army for 5 years, I didn't say screw them to people when they needed me. And I would hope that, you know, in the situation where I needed help, my community, my, you know, peers and everything else would be there for me. So I keep hearing, like I said, a lot of videos, pay it forward, and this and that, and prep this and prep for that and all sorts of stuff. But my question is tonight, do you prep so you could help others? And like I said, this is not a video about bartering. I understand bartering is going to be important in an emergency situation, but it's not. It sometimes, honestly, it's looked at a way to screw the other person. So yeah, let's talk about it for just a minute. Like I said, it's easy to prep for a family member, okay? Even though it may be one of your in-laws and they may not like what you do. They may have basically told you that you're out of your ever-loving mind for prepping food and water and, you know, toiletry items and guns and bullets and everything else. But do you prep so if you needed to, you could help someone else? Now, no, it's not your responsibility, I understand, to prep for other people. It is somewhat your responsibility to, you know, maybe suggest it to people that are a little bit younger of age, that don't understand how it is when, with the Great Depression of past, and you know, that generation that went through that time, they're leaving us. They're passing away. The real struggle that they've seen, that we're comparing right now to 2011, 2012, or I guess people say all the way back to 05, 04, when the housing market started crashing. You know, this is a terrible depression. It sucks. The economy's, you know, not good right now, but we're not in a depression, folks. We're not in the point where food is limited and people are standing in bread lines to get food and things like that. So like I said, my question is, will you help a neighbor or a stranger without being able to get anything back except for the fact of the satisfaction that you helped a fellow mankind? Okay? I don't know really why I'm rivaled up so much about this, but I guess as I was reading the book and stuff like that, and you know, a lot of people are, you know, being stingy, and I can really see that happening in a bind. Would you help them out with medicines? Would you help them out if it was any type of situation infection is going to wipe out a bunch of people. How about water? Would you give up? Is that the most important source for your survival? Is it water, or is it meds, or whatever? What about the people that are on medication? They need it to live. The type 2 diabetics that require insulin. The people who have heart problems that require medicine to keep their hearts going and everything else. I'm sure there's just a ton of ton of medicines and a ton of different things. So please don't inbox me and say you forgot to mention this or that. You understand what I'm getting at. How about food? Would you give up a bag of beans to help a family out, or some sugar, or anything else? How about do you prep extra things like some coffee and some condiments, or tea and cocoa? Guys, this stuff right here was when I've been prepping this stuff every time we have to go somewhere out of town and go to a hotel. They usually have the little breakfast stuff in the morning, and I don't take a bunch so that it'll be an issue. But as everybody knows, you start prepping a little bit at a time, and you might not really care for green tea, but I guarantee you, if you didn't have anything else to drink, or if it was just water, or worst comes to worst, if it was unfiltered water or something, or you're getting it out of a lake, a nice glass of that tea probably would do you really good. Or if it was freezing cold outside and it's hard to keep your body temperature up, how about when you guys go through the drive-thru, or when you order a pizza, do you keep the extra packets that they have set back, or do you just throw them away? Now maybe this is taking it to the extreme, and I don't know, maybe you'll say I'm an extreme prepper because I keep a lot of stuff. I think part of being a prepper is recycling, and you need to keep a hold of things. Don't always just throw it out. If there's another use for it, use it. Save your family the money for it or whatever. It's not being cheap or anything else like that. It's called being resourceful. Now, granted, if money's never an object and everything else, well, hell, you really should be watching YouTube videos anyway. And you should have your own bug-out castles fully stocked with 10 years of food and everything else. So if that's your point at this point right now, just don't watch the video unless you're just needing a good laugh. Okay, how about this? How about a weapon? Would you give up a weapon to help someone? How about ammunition? I see a ton of videos out there, people reloading and everything else, and how cheap it is to reload. You can reload 9mm for a quarter of the cost that it costs in the store. Would you give up 15 rounds, 30 rounds to help somebody defend themselves? How about clothing, or a poncho, or something like that? Could you spare a pair of socks to somebody that didn't have them? Would you? Not could you, but would you? Like I said, guys, there's a lot of stuff on YouTube, but I haven't seen very much about people that are actually thinking about other people in the future. I'm not talking about everybody. There are a lot of channels out there. I'm going to go ahead and plug East Coast Prepper right now, because he's one that does a lot with the storm relief. There's a few other people. I'm sorry, I don't remember everybody's station, but I'm sure if you go to East Coast Preppers and look at some of his true friends or whatever, you'll pick up on it really quick. But so I don't want to be general and say that everybody out there in the prepping community is going to be stingy with their stuff, because there are a lot of people that won't. But what I'm trying to actually get across is, a bottle of water, a firearm, damn sure things that you get for free, condiments and stuff like that. It may be just something that small that keeps the morale up of helping out someone else. and you don't have to always be rewarded for it. Because I can tell you right now, if something ever did happen, like an economic collapse or hell, just a really bad situation where, say, no one in the United States had any electric, it doesn't matter if you have $10 million in the bank, you're going to be broke, because your money is going to be basically toilet paper. These are the items that's going to be worth a lot. But how much is, how much is your soul worth? How much is, knowing on the inside of your heart that you help someone? Now, granted, I understand that if times get tough, your family comes first. That's obvious. I mean, you got to take care of yourself, your family, and your close friends first. That is primary. But what I'm saying is, if it's not a situation that you think would last too long, or you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, would you help people? I'd say something about Katrina and about all the looters and everything else, but I'm not even going to get into that. We are preppers in this community. We are survivalists. We are gun enthusiasts. We are supposed to be teaching younger generations skills that they're not picking up because they're always on a computer or World of Warcraft or whatever else. So we also need to teach them, as leaders of this country, we need to teach them how to be kind to each other and how to stand together in the face of adversity, like our forefathers did, like our grandparents did. The men and women of that time that stood up and said, "This will not stand." So if you guys really want to put on your channels about voting for Ron Paul and all this other stuff and standing up for the Constitution and standing up for the right, the human rights, but will you stand up yourself for humanity? That's all I'm saying. Would you prep to help anybody else? Would you prep a little bit extra back, especially if it didn't cost you very much? All right, guys. Well, I've rambled on enough about this. So leave a comment, inbox me, whatever. Like it, dislike it. I don't care. Give me your comments if you have any. I don't care if it's negative or positive. As long as it's within the guidelines of a good dispute, I will not remove it from the channel. If you get anywhere crazy to where I think kids can't look at the channel or something like that, then yeah, it's gone. But hit me up. Let me know what you guys think. And is this a bleeding heart thing for humanity, or is that just times of the past and we're living in the past? Tell me what y'all think. Thanks for watching.